South Sudan rebels say they have freed 7 aid workers detained for nearly 3 weeks. U.S. President Donald Trump unleashes a Twitter tirade as former FBI Director James Comey promotes his new book. And an environmentally friendly gym harnesses people power. Africa 54 starts right now.
Good evening and welcome. I'm Vincent McCory. This is Africa 54. We begin this evening in South Sudan, where 7 aid workers are being freed by rebels after being held for nearly 3 weeks in the country's central equatorial region on accusations of spying for the government. Rebel spokesman Lam Paul Gabriel told Reuters the workers were released to a United Nations delegation near the border with Uganda and that Ugandan police witnessed the handover. South Sudan has been gripped by conflict since 2013 after disagreement between President Salva Kiir and his former deputy Riek Machar deteriorated into a military confrontation. The war has killed tens of thousands of people, including nearly 100 relief workers. Now, there is major political news out of Kenya on Monday. 3 election officials have resigned, increasing chaos at the Electoral Commission following last year's botched presidential vote that had to be rerun. The commission was frequently at the center of controversy during Kenya's extended election season last year, in which around 100 people were killed. The 3 officials of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission released a statement at a news conference in Nairobi saying there was a deterioration in confidence with the chairman, Wafula Chebukati. Last week, the commission sent its chief executive, Ezra Chiloba, on 3 months compulsory leave pending an audit. A detailed reason for the move was not given. An IBC commissioner describes the turmoil within the organization.
However, the institution has continued to be dysfunctional with arbitrary decision-making, leaking of internal documents to serve personal goals, and pursuing of personal interests, all of which are against the laid-down laws that govern the conduct of the Commission leadership and staff. This race to chase ghosts that don't exist needs to stop.
But IBC Chairman Wafula Chebukati says he had learned of the commissioner's resignation from news reports. The resignations leave only 2 commissioners and the chairman at the commission. Well, more than 200 African immigrants jailed in Israel have been released following a Supreme Court order that they be deported to another African country. Most of the 200, mainly Eritrean and Sudanese men, were sent to a desert prison in recent months to await deportation to Uganda. This latest Supreme Court ruling comes after Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu backed out of a deal with the UN Refugee Agency aimed at avoiding forced deportations of thousands of migrants. Without a deal in place, the court ordered the release of those held in prison. There are 42,000 African migrants in Israel. Authorities transferred 207 of them from a nearby open detention facility in February after they refused to leave the country. On Friday, Uganda said it is in talks with Israel to take in about 500 migrants, but only those who have left voluntarily and not by forced deportation.
Why would I agree? It's not my country. It's not my country. Why do I have to go there? No, I have to be here. I need to wait here until things get a little bit organized.
Well, since 2013 and a voluntary program, about 4,000 migrants have left Israel for Rwanda and Uganda. Prime Minister Netanyahu is under pressure from his right-wing voter base to expel thousands more. Now, New York boasts of its religious tolerance, but even in America's largest city, Ahmadiyya Muslims are feeling the sting of persecution. Though they represent just 1% of Muslims worldwide, members of the minority sect have felt uneasy here for years. And in the past decade, what was once whispered has become overt. Viewers Ramon Taylor reports.
Seeking peace and the ability to freely practice religion, members of the long-persecuted Ahmadiyya Muslim community have found a home in New York. But even here, discrimination persists, and a lot of it comes from non-Ahmadi U.S. Muslims on the internet. according to the community's national spokesperson, Nusrat Kadir Chaudhry.
That negative bias that I see online, it troubles me. Because you know that you won't be treated equally or you won't be welcomed by that person if they can just spew this negative hate so easily on the internet.
Though they are a minority sect with an estimated 20,000 members residing in the U.S., the Ahmadiyya Muslim community runs a tech-savvy campaign aimed at breaking Muslim stereotypes. But its name, True Islam, touches a nerve with some non-Ahmadi Muslim organizations.
They are going on news media and radio stations and saying, hey, they're not even Muslim. So you're not allowed to put True Islam as your campaign, unfortunately.
Like other Muslim groups, Ahmadis follow the teachings of the Prophet Muhammad, but they see Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, who founded the movement, as their messiah. Because of this, they are viewed as heretics. Having fled persecution in countries like Pakistan, they face discrimination both as Ahmadis and Muslims.
There becomes a level of trying to slowly trust people, and that's anything you'd see in like a post-traumatic stress disorder situation. But with regards to the bias, the negative bias towards Muslims in general, most recently in this country over the last couple of years, it creates that same fear. And then that trust is actually broken.
The Ahmadis say anyone is welcome at their mosques, an open-door policy shared by New York-based organizations like Cordoba House, a nonprofit that promotes a contemporary and pluralistic American Muslim identity in the U.S. Last month, the group organized a spiritual concert featuring Pakistani musicians in a Manhattan Jewish temple.
We need to, in essence, look at the values and the objectives of the religion, to love God with all our heart, to love God, our neighbors with all our heart, to do good. These are the essential values of all basic religions.
Imam Kosar says he has begun to see shifting attitudes towards Ahmadis, especially among immigrant groups whose countries don't have what he calls an anti-Ahmadi culture already established, such as Bangladeshis.
Whenever anti-Ahmadiyya, raids and violence has ever come up, they have always pushed back. The government has always said, no, we're not going to get involved in this. So that's helped the people who have moved here saying, okay, it's okay, we can listen at least.
Ramon Taylor, VOA News, New York.
Well, the White House says Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari is set to meet U.S. President Donald Trump in Washington on April the 30th. It will be Buhari's first visit to the White House during the Trump administration. White House spokeswoman Sarah Sanders said Sunday that President Trump is looking forward to discussing ways to enhance the strategic partnership and advance the shared priorities between the two nations. And the meeting comes weeks after former U.S. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson visited Nigeria and other African countries in March, only to be fired after his return to Washington. The United Arab Emirates is ending its military training mission to Somalia after an incident that saw its soldiers assaulted and over $9 million seized at an airport in Mogadishu. The UAE has trained hundreds of troops in Somalia since 2014. It's part of an effort boosted by an African Union military mission to defeat Islamist insurgency and secure the country for the government, which is backed by Western nations, Turkey and the United Nations. The UAE's foreign ministry says the incident at the airport flies in the face of diplomatic traditions. The Somali government had no immediate comment. Relations between Somalia and the UAE have been strained over the ongoing diplomatic crisis in the Gulf. Operating in one of the most culturally diverse communities in the United States, Refuge Coffee is a non-profit business founded on a simple premise: improving the lives of refugees living in the U.S. Not only has it become a meeting place for people from all cultures, Refuge Coffee in Clarkston, Georgia, helps refugees improve their job skills and earn a living while adapting to their new lives in a new country. VOA Kurdish service reporter Saleh Demiger has more.
Reflecting the true heart of diversity, this coffee shop represents a safe haven for new Americans, giving refugees a chance to build new lives and thrive in communities very different from the ones they left behind. Founder Kitty Murray says she wanted to create a space where people feel welcome.
I think people want to reach out to each other, and if they're given an environment where it's safe and where they can do it, and it's safe and it tastes good and it smells good and it's comfortable, then people rise to that challenge. And so, yes, we've had people from all different religions and countries, and there's a lot of cultural differences, but because of this base value of welcome, we find that what that really does is it enriches us rather than challenges us.
The idea has expanded since the company first started with just one red coffee truck, and it has been a great opportunity, says Moray, to truly experience Clarkston's diversity.
I've learned so much about other cultures, and there's so much beauty in them, and we miss out when we don't know those people, and we just put them in a box and label them.
Ahmed Al-Zukani started working at Refuge Coffee since 2015, 2 months after arriving in the U.S. from Syria.
I went through the program, which like a year job training, development skills, which gave me a lot of experience to change too many things and learn the system here. And then a year later, when I finished the program, I started to work for them and give my experience to the others.
Helping others gives new Americans the confidence and courage to do more, says Leon Shombana, who came here from the Democratic Republic of Congo.
I'm very glad so that I can try. Myself as a refugee in this country, I'm very happy to help other refugees to improve their work skills and their language skill. And then it makes me to feel very happy than before.
With 60 languages and 148 nationalities represented in Clarkston, Refuge Coffee has become an integral part of the community, attracting people from all walks of life to come together and share stories from all over the world. Saleh Demijar, VOA, Clarkston, Georgia.
Well, the Africa 54 team is always thrilled when you reach out to us on social media and let us know what you think about us and the stories we cover. We recently explored the difficult process of reconciliation in Rwanda. Niyibigira Kome from Kigali, Rwanda, wrote, "Unity and reconciliation is at 95%. The remaining struggle is dealing with genocide ideology, especially for those living outside of Rwanda. Some say forgive, but not forget." Now, reconciliation is a lengthy process, Niyibigira, but a necessary one for the country and people to move forward. So let's go to another comment from Deng Yuan Hajang, who wonders, why don't the African people solve their problems like the USA? Well, Deng, this is a vast subject matter that we often explore in interviews with experts. But keep in mind that the United States is one country, but Africa is many countries with a variety of challenges, but also success stories. And it's always very encouraging when we get messages like this one from Benjamin Iheanyi Ajuzie from Lagos, Nigeria. He wrote, "I enjoy your news presentation. It's classic, unique, and informative. I will recommend it anytime, any day." Thank you very much, Benjamin, for your kind remarks, and please keep them coming. Reach out to us on Facebook at VOA Africa 54, and don't forget that we stream our show live every day. Follow me on Twitter at VOA Vince McCory. Well, coming up now, a new war of words erupts between former FBI Director James Comey and President Donald Trump. Stay with us.
This is a country that I chose to become a citizen. I didn't have to become a citizen. I chose to become a citizen.
I feel like America gave me an opportunity to pursue my passion as an artist.
I really believe that clean eating is a way to a more successful life, or a happier life, if you want to put it that way.
One of the things that helps me wake up every morning is doing better, being better.
We grew up poor, and so I'm always focused on helping the working class be able to have a more comfortable lifestyle.
I'm passionate about doing justice every day. I oftentimes say that justice is a verb, not a noun. You know, I believe in action and moving the ball forward.
Welcome back. Washington is witnessing a renewed war of words between U.S. President Donald Trump and a man he fired last year, former FBI Director James Comey. VOA's Michael Bowman reports Comey is speaking out ahead of the release of a book detailing turbulent encounters with Trump, as well as the FBI's probe of Hillary Clinton's handling of emails as Secretary of State.
President Trump has gotten personal in a new tweeting tirade against James Comey, calling him, quote, a slime ball, a leaker and a liar, and the worst FBI director in history by far. Comey, meanwhile, is also speaking out.
I don't know whether the current president of the United States was with prostitutes peeing on each other in Moscow in 2013.
In his new book, A Higher Loyalty, Comey portrays the president as near obsessed with unproven and disputed allegations made by a British researcher financed by the Clinton campaign in 2016, and says Trump repeatedly pressured him to take action benefiting the president.
James Comey doesn't have credibility and shouldn't have been leading the FBI any longer. At the end of the day, this president will be judged on probably two big things: the economy and national security.
Trump praised Comey in late 2016.
It took guts for Director Comey to make the move that he made.
Barely 2 weeks before the election, Comey announced the FBI was reopening an investigation into then Democratic presidential candidate Hillary Clinton's handling of emails years earlier. Clinton's poll numbers suffered in the days that followed. Comey insists he made the right decision, but admits he was operating under an assumption that proved false.
It had to have been that she's going to be elected president, and if I hide this from the American people, she'll be illegitimate the moment she's elected.
The renewed and intensified Trump-Comey spat comes as senators of both parties back legislation to protect the special counsel in the Russia probe, Robert Mueller, from possibly being fired by Trump. The president blasted recent media reports that he has been eager to dismiss Mueller as more fake news. Michael Bowman, VOA News, Washington.
Well, rural communities in the United States and elsewhere often use portable backup electricity generators in case of power outages. But these machines can be costly to run for longer times and require periodic attendance. A team from West Virginia University is developing a small natural gas-powered generator that will be able to run for years. VOA's George Putich has more.
This simple-looking machine, displayed at the recent energy-themed exhibition organized by the U.S. Department of Energy, has only one moving part and can generate about 1 kilowatt of electricity, enough for basic power requirements of a single-family home. The lead investigator of the Linear Generator Project at West Virginia University, Professor Parviz Famouri, says their first objective is to build a machine that can run continuously for 10 years.
The other objective is to run on 40% efficiency from natural gas to electricity. And the third is it should be lower than $3,000.
As the piston of this small two-stroke gas engine goes up and down, it also pushes and pulls a permanent magnet through a coil of copper wire, generating an alternating current. The motor does not have a crankcase, and the piston is pushed back to its upper position by a compressed air spring at the lower end. Famouri says the generator can also run on various types of fuel.
Not only we ran this on the natural gas, we also ran this on diesel, so it's a multi-fuel system.
Since the gas engine also generates heat, Famouri says it could have a dual use.
Basically, with the combined heat and power, you can put this in your HVAC system, your heating and air conditioning system, and that would the heat would provide for the heater, and then the electricity would provide for the home.
The project is still in the experimental phase, but Famouri says the prototype should be ready in about a year. George Putic, VOA News.
Well, coral reefs cover less than 1% of the world's ocean beds, yet they are home to a quarter of all marine life on the planet. More than 500 million people worldwide depend on the diverse ecosystems provided by reefs for food and services. But they are facing serious challenges that threaten their survival. Here's VOA's Faith Lapidus.
Reefs are made up of ancient coral and sand sediment deposited over thousands of years. They serve as a protective barrier for coastlines, a nursery for marine life, and an attraction for tourists. But the world's reefs are being damaged by overfishing and pollution. Rising ocean temperatures cause bleaching, where the individual coral polyps making up the reef expel the algae that live within their tissues. Without the nutrients they provide, the corals will die.
The biggest changes, I think, in terms of the environment have been through the bleaching event that we suffered in 1998, which was the worst we've ever had. And we lost in some areas up to 90% of our coral reefs. And then those reefs were recovering and had actually recovered to a reasonable extent until 2016, when we had another bleaching event.
If nothing changes, the world's reefs will reach their tipping point before the end of the century, disappearing more quickly than they can restore themselves, according to a study published in the journal Science. This year, the Seychelles government announced a pioneering deal in which it swapped part of its sovereign debt for investment in marine protection areas. Already, conservationists have launched a number of reef restoration projects around the nation's 115 islands. At one site, workers spent the morning transferring tiny coral fragments that had been collected from the seafloor and nurtured in tanks to an underwater rope nursery, or improvised skeleton.
When the corals are going to reach a suitable size, so when they're going to be big enough, they're going to be outplanted back on the reef. And these will increase the number of remaining coral colonies, so you're going to increase the coral cover, the coral abundance, but also the biodiversity depending on which species you're transplanting, and the topography of the reef as well.
Saving the reefs also means saving the Seychelles' vibrant tourist economy.
Obviously, we have divers and snorkelers, and if we can continue to have healthy reefs and lots of fish, we've got happy divers, they do lots of dives, the dive centre makes more business, the government gets more tax money, and everybody's happy.
The Seychelles government is working with Nature Seychelles to secure funding to turn small-scale designer coral farms into larger operations. The aim is to commercialize part of the process so it can financially sustain coral reef restoration well into the future. For writer Faiza El-Masri, I'm Faith Lapidus, VOA News.
Well, it's time now for a short break. Still to come on Africa 54, working up a sweat and working up some clean energy too. We'll be right back.
In Kenya, 3 commissioners from the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission resigned, citing a deterioration in confidence with the chairman.
Malaria risk.
In Senegal, 3,000 experts are expected to attend a Pan-African conference on malaria to discuss the fight against the disease. In Nigeria, parents of the missing Chibok girls renew calls for their release on the 4th anniversary of their kidnapping by Boko Haram. In Mozambique, the government is debating privatizing its railroad development project due to mounting public debt. In Burkina Faso, soldiers are taking part in U.S.-led military exercises to train in tactical combat against terrorism.
Welcome back to Africa 54, and here's what's trending. History fever is gripping Thailand as locals grow a fondness for traditional costumes, a phenomenon fueled by a popular television soap opera. Love Destiny, soap opera set during the 1656 to 1688 reign of King Narai the Great, is taking Thailand by storm. Fans are flocking to the ancient capital of Ayutthaya, 80 kilometers north of Bangkok, where scenes from Love Destiny take place. Many pose for selfies dressed in traditional garb against the backdrop of the ruins at the historic temple, attributing their love for the Thai culture to the soap opera. The costume rental business is booming at rental shops around the temple. Well, next up, flying foxes, also known as fruit bats, are exceptional aerial acrobats thanks to an elastic scheme running from their fingers to their toes that helps them maneuver very quickly in the air. The German technology firm Festo have built a bio-inspired robotic flying fox that's able to mimic much of the real animal's airborne ability. Like the living creature, the bionic version has an airtight membrane stretching from the fingertips to the feet of the robotic bat. It has a wingspan of 2.28 meters, but weighs just 580 grams. Within a defined airspace, it will navigate by itself thanks to an external camera array that provides the control command and the location data to plan its flight path. Well, and finally, working up a sweat and working up some energy too. At Terrace Hale's new gym in London's Shepherd's Bush Market, these fitness fanatics are generating clean energy as they work out. The gym spin bikes are built to harness pedal power, generating energy that will be put back into the local grid. Whenever someone pedals on the gym's EcoPower spin bicycles, they generate watts. A dedicated smartphone app tells gym goers their speed, calories burned, distance covered and watts generated. The gym claims a 50-minute spin class with 8 to 10 participants will generate between 1,500 and 3,300 watts. And that's what's trending today. Well, and that's our show for today. Be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. For more news, tune in to VOA's evening radio show, Africa News Tonight, at 1800 UTC, and in the mornings, Today Break Africa between 0300 and 0600 UTC, Monday through Friday. Thanks a lot for watching. From all of us in Washington, have a good night.
Zimbra Corn is going to be a company that's built in Africa, for Africa, and scaled in Africa.